could see mystical butterflies, just like the one in the private garden in the palace. She laughed and twirled around to the tunes of the birds, excited by the beauty and magical butterflies around the bush. Suddenly, she saw a shadow cast over her, and she stopped in shock. It was a man wearing a mask, and he had a dagger. He grabbed her and was about to stab her, and Soyi screamed in fear. Suddenly, something happened. It was butterflies turned into an incredibly beautiful woman with long, beautiful hair. Sewa was very angry that the prince had fallen for a black slave. She was from a noble family and deserved to be queen, and she knew what she needed to do to get rid of the black slave. Sewa thought it would be easy. After all, Soyi is just a black slave that nobody cares about. Slaves are never given priority, and it shouldn't be so hard to kill her. She called her elder brother, Janghook, and told him she needed the black slave dead. Invite her to pick some blue roses for you. We all know it can only be found in the rose bush, which is a little distance away from here. Do not worry, I will kill her in the bush, and her body will be buried underneath the flowers, Janghook said. Thank you, you are a good big brother, Sewa said, and gave an evil smile. Of course, I want my little sister to be queen, and nobody else. We will become the most powerful after the royal family, Janghook said, and left. It was finally the day of the princess picking ceremony, where the prince would pick a woman of purity to be the future queen, so the disasters in town can stop. The palace maids put finishing touches to the hall, which was decorated with all sorts of flowers. Soyi was not left out. She was watering the flowers and arranging them in the hall. Sewa came to look around and inspect what they were doing. She nodded her head, pretending to watch what they were doing. The headmaid quickly walked up to her and bowed. What do you desire? The headmaid asked. She was surprised to see Sewa of all people monitoring the activities of the maids. There should be blue roses here. Why do you not have them? Sewa asked. We had such short notice, so we gathered the flowers we could find around, the headmaid explained. I want to wear blue roses on my hair, and I want a hint of them in the decoration. As the future queen, it will be beautiful to see the flowers in front match my beautiful hair rose. I need a slave to pick it up quickly, Sewa said. Of course, I'll find someone for you immediately, the headmaid said. Send the black slave. She has a lot of knowledge about flowers. Plus, she's the only slave I like in the palace. Tell her to deliver my roses in my house, Sewa said, and the headmaid bowed as she walked away. The headmaid immediately called on Soyi. You must go and get some blue roses immediately. We need them here, and you must deliver some to the noble lady Sewa in her home, the headmaid said, and Soyi was surprised. Alone? She asked. Everyone is so busy, so yes, hurry up. The princess picking ceremony will soon start, the headmaid said, and Soyi picked up a basket and left. She walked through the fields as the morning sun hit her face, and she smiled. She soon got to the rose bush. It was a vast land with lots of blue roses and a hint of white roses. It smelled divine, and Soyi was excited to be there. She could see mystical butterflies, just like the one in the private garden in the palace. She laughed and twirled around to the tunes of the birds, excited by the beauty and magical butterflies around the bush. Suddenly, she saw a shadow cast over her, and she stopped in shock. It was a man wearing a mask, and he had a dagger. He grabbed her and was about to stab her, and Soyi screamed in fear. Suddenly, something happened. It was butterflies turned into an incredibly beautiful woman with long, beautiful hair. The rose bush suddenly grew, and its stems grabbed the masked man's hands, and the dagger fell from his hands. The masked man was surprised and didn't understand what was going on, as the stem covered his body and kept dragging him away, farther into the bush. The beautiful woman moved towards the surprised Soyi. I know you are wondering who I am. I am Blue Ivy, the goddess of blue flowers, and this is my territory. I do not interfere in human interactions, but your pure heart has made me to save you, Blue Ivy said. Who told you I have a pure heart? Soyi asked. I can smell your destiny, Soyi, and it is as beautiful as roses. I also smelled an angel in your past, and it confirmed the fact that you are a special human, Blue Ivy said. An angel visited me in my dreams some days ago, Soyi confirmed. Hurry up and go to where you're supposed to be. You must not miss your destiny, Blue Ivy said. Soyi wondered what that meant, but she didn't ask any questions. Thank you for helping me, Blue Ivy. Of course, you must hurry now, Blue Ivy said and vanished. Soyi quickly hurried off to the town and went straight to the ceremony. She gave the headmaid the flowers just in time, and excited ladies started arriving in the hall. They even started coming before the given time. Soyi and other slaves changed their outfits and took their positions in different corners of the hall, serving as ushers in case any of the guests needed help. Soyi suddenly remembered that she had not delivered Sewa's flowers and quickly rushed out. She stood face to face with Sewa, who was shocked to see her. She expected Soyi to be dead by now. "I'm sorry for the delay, but I had a terrible encounter." Soyi bowed and handed Sewa the roses. "I changed my mind. I don't need them for today. Take it to my grandmother's house and give it to the gardeners," Sewa said, and Soyi bowed and left. Sewa was very angry to see that Soyi is alive. Her grandparents live far away, and she hoped that by the time Soyi was back, the ceremony would have been over. The king walked in with his two queens and took his seat on the chair in front, while the first queen sat by his left. The prince, Minho, looked around the hall as all the ladies winked at him, giving him flirty looks. He was worried he didn't see Soyi. She was supposed to be ushering in the ceremony. He had made sure her name is on the list, but she was nowhere to be found. He finally took his seat at the right-hand side of his father, and the ceremony started. "The noble lady Kimna Young of Jesu province," the officiator announced. A lady, laden with heavy makeup, came up to the front and bowed. The prince shook his head, and the smile on the lady's face immediately became fake as she struggled not to show her anger in front of royalty and left. Other ladies were called one after the other, a lot of them graced with the most expensive makeup. "The noble lady Kim Jojo of Dingu province," "the noble lady Paxia of Jesu province," "the noble lady Jeyikyong." One by one, the officiator called a lot of girls, but Mino rejected all of them. It was time for a break, and Mino was to pick some of the ladies and have a dance with them. A lot of ladies struggled to dance with the prince, and one of the crazy girls beat another girl, while some were pushing and cursing. Mino rolled his eyes in disappointment and walked towards Sewa, who gave him a warm smile, and he danced with her. "I remember our childhood, when we used to play in the field. Such fun times," Sewa chuckled as they danced. "Yes," Minho said. It was obvious he was uninterested. "We had such a great childhood, and we have grown today to become respectable. I a noble and you a royal. We'll make a good pair," Sewa continued. Minho nodded as his eyes searched around the hall, hoping to see Soyi, and Sewa became irritated. "Are you okay, Your Highness?" Sewa asked. "Where is Soyi?" Minho asked. Sewa became visibly angry, and she couldn't hide it. "Why do you ask about the black slave in such beautiful moments?" Sewa asked. "Do you have an answer to my question?" Minho asked. "I sent her on an errand, and she won't be back anytime soon," Sewa said. "You have a lot of servants in your home. Why will you send a royal slave on an errand?" Minho asked, looking irritated. "She's just a slave," Sewa said. "This dance is over," Minho said, and left her to dance with some other ladies. Sewa's face was as red as a tomato. She was so angry that her brother couldn't handle a small job. She decided that she would handle it her own way. Meanwhile, Soyi walked under the sun, hot and tired, and she still had a long way to go. Surprisingly, she saw Sewa's grandmother taking a leisure walk with some servants gathered behind her. She quickly walked up to her and told her what Sewa had instructed her, but her grandmother insisted that she's allergic to blue roses and doesn't want the roses near her home. She told Soyi to return the flower to Sewa's house. Soyi was glad to hear the news. She didn't have to walk all the way to grandmother's house, which was still far away. She quickly dropped the flowers in Sewa's place and had a quick shower before returning to take her position in the princess picking ceremony as an usher. Immediately she came in, Minho stood up as the light hit her face, and he marveled at her beauty and pointed at her. Everyone was surprised and turned back, wondering what he was looking at. So he became nervous as everyone was suddenly staring at her. "She will be my bride," Minho announced, and there was large murmurs among the people. "Are you sure?" the king asked his son. "1,000,000%, Minho said, and went over to Soyi. He held her hands and walked with her to the front. The murmurs continued, but Minho didn't care. Sewa nearly ran mad, seeing what had happened. She almost tore her clothes out of anger. The shaman came forward and confirmed that Soyi, the black slave, had a heart of purity and she could marry the prince. The king wasn't too happy with the decision, but he wanted to save his kingdom from more disasters, so he reluctantly agreed. but he insisted that Soyi must be trained into royalty for a while so she would be fit to be queen. She was given a room in the palace and given noble clothes to wear. Soyi's face changed overnight and she was overwhelmed with all of the attention on her. She had taken a liking to the prince, but she didn't ever think that she would be the future queen. Meanwhile, an enraged Sewa went to her brother. "You had one simple job, but you couldn't do it," Sewa said. "The stems of the bush suddenly grew and dragged me away. I was lucky it didn't choke me to death," Janghook said. Sewa didn't believe him and quickly called on Towa. "Take this and put it in her food." Sewa handed her some money and gave her the potion. She assured her that if she became queen, then Towa would be her right-hand royal maid. Towa tried her best to get close to Soyi, and she used Soyi's friend, Hierin, to do that. She stylishly put the potion in the food, and as per tradition, she had a taste, but the potion takes effect after continuous use, so Soyi would have to finish her food for 3 days for it to take effect. Soyi was learning about royalty and how to be queen from the palace courtmaids. They did a good job teaching her, and Soyi was learning fast. As she was taking her lessons, she collapsed and the royal healer was called to check on her. He said Soyi was unwell and she would take months to recover, except she got a special tonic, which was in the mountains, very far away, and it takes 40 days to get there with a horse. Sewa was glad. She was sure that she would be considered since Soyi is now very sick. The next day, more disasters happened. A terrible lightning without rain hit some people and they died instantly. Some of the livestock also died and the wells were starting to get dry. There was a sudden heat wave and everyone began to panic. The king sent for the shaman again and she suggested that the wedding takes place immediately. They cannot afford to wait for her to get better. Sewa was filled with rage that her plans had backfired, but she could only watch as Soyi got married to Minho. The celebration was simple because of Soyi's bad health. There was rain and the wells were filled up again. The shaman confirmed that the land has been saved. Some weeks after, the medicine was brought to Soyi and she instantly became well. Minho was very happy to have his hale and hearty wife by his side, and he looked forward to his future with his slave turned future queen of the whole.